Thanks for joining us for the session of UT Learning Development's Career Development Lunch and Learn. We're super excited to have our guest from LinkedIn today, Nicole Suss. I just wanted to kind of go over the format in case there are some people who this is their first session that they've joined. The way that it works for participants is we have our chat open, and we really encourage you to use it to sort of virtually network and talk to each other and share your own experiences through the chat. We love to see a lot of engagement. So if you have questions, for one another, you can put that in the chat. But if you have questions for Nicole or me, make sure you put that in the Q&A, because we might not be able to keep track of all of the conversation happening in the chat. So make sure that, again, if you're asking a question to Nicole or to me, that you put it through the Q&A, which is also open. There's the function to raise your hand. So if you want to actually have us open up your mic, we can do that too. And again, we really encourage lots of questions and engagement. So Nicole, we are so thrilled to have you join us today. We're super excited because of all the robust tools that you're going to teach us about. And I'll just give a little intro here. Nicole has had over 10 years of talent acquisition experience and 7 years at LinkedIn specifically. And she's well-versed in the art of creating a professional brand. And she's currently working exclusively with higher ed institutions here in Texas. So she has really kind of specific, experience in working with people that are in our space. So that's really exciting. So again, thanks so much for joining us, Nicole. I'm here. I'm going to turn off my camera, but I'm here to support you however you need me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to meet you. I appreciate the introduction. We actually have a funny tradition here at LinkedIn where we always, at our internal meetings, introduce ourselves, but we also tell something interesting about ourselves that is not on our LinkedIn profile. So I will share with you guys that I actually know how to Polynesian fire dance, and that is my interesting fact about myself that would never be on my LinkedIn profile. Just by way of getting to know each other and our peers, I highly recommend you guys all drop fun facts about yourselves in the chat so you guys can get to know each other as well. Makes this much more interesting. And it's St. Paddy's Day, so why not do something fun? So getting down to what we're actually discussing today, I am from LinkedIn. I've been here at least 7 years, probably closer to 8 now, and I do work only with higher education institutions in the state of Texas, and I love my job. Certainly my favorite part of my job is helping people use the tools better. So as mentioned, please, 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 let's keep this interactive. If you have questions, drop them in. Let's keep it conversational. And I'm happy to answer any questions about LinkedIn or LinkedIn Learning, which is our learning and development tool provided by UT Austin to all faculty, staff, and students, and by a lot of other higher education institutions, particularly in this state. So what we're really going to cover today in detail is looking at LinkedIn, how LinkedIn Learning plays into that, how we can use this tool to support your development. We'll go into tips and tricks, and then I can show you a live demo. We're going to be answering questions throughout this, but certainly at the end, if you want to hold your questions, we'll have space for that as well. So what is LinkedIn? So everyone sort of knows LinkedIn as the social media site for professionals, and that we are. We have almost 700 million people who represent themselves on LinkedIn in a professional standpoint. There's a whole bunch of reasons people do this, but certainly the primary reason is so that we can stay in touch with their peers as they go off into their career and change roles. We're still connected to them. You can find jobs, you can learn about things. There are publisher platforms. It's really cool. We need to be able to manage our brand and our professional brand, especially since 89% of our peers and coworkers Google us. Did you guys know that? So put something there that they can find that's professional in nature so that folks can see that. Beyond that, though, what we do as a company, LinkedIn, is we take all the data we get from these LinkedIn ecosystems, these profiles, and we build what's known as the LinkedIn economic graph, which is essentially a digital representation of the global economy. We take that data and we're able to support countries, institutions, states. We're working with Ed Sheehan's office and the Office of Workforce Development right now in the state of Texas to upskill and reskill all the Texans displaced by the oil and gas stuff that's happening right now. So it's really cool what we can do with this data. We actually work with your institution heavily on providing data as well. But more so, we build products that leverage that data. So in this case, we're talking about LinkedIn Learning, which is one of those products. LinkedIn Learning is the e-learning library that you guys have available to you. I'm sure some of you guys have popped in and looked at it, formerly lynda.com. But essentially, this is almost 17,000 courses now. It's all taught by industry experts. We build in strategic insights, AI, machine learning to recommend content down to relevant users, and also the content searchable. We try to make it engaging, social. There's Q&A. You can see what your coworkers are publicly liking. So it's pretty cool. As far as the brass tacks, we add about 50 to 60 new courses per week. And we've been doing this now for 25 years because we bought lynda.com and changed it to LinkedIn Learning. It's really robust. So I dropped in the chat the login flow for the folks at UT Austin. So you can go into your HR page and locate the login tools. You log in with your normal institution credentials. If you've never done this before, and it's your first time authenticating a LinkedIn Learning license, you will be given the option to connect a personal LinkedIn profile if you have one. If you do have one, I highly recommend it. It is going to open up a whole bunch of new features for you, including a lot of the social features. You can also publicly display your badges and micro-credentials that you earn within LinkedIn Learning, so it's highly recommended. But if you don't have a LinkedIn profile and if you don't want one, that is no problem. You can definitely proceed without one. So how does this actually help you? Let's actually talk about ways you can use this to support what you're doing now, where you want to take your career in the future. So there's a number of ways. Certainly, I think we need to talk about being able to adapt to unexpected changes. The last 12 months has been a wild ride for everyone, but particularly for all of us in higher ed. I mean, the expectations for folks working in this industry has been really high for a long time with a lot of change and uncertainty. And then the last 12 months have been incredibly difficult. So the tools that we have to help folks through these changes are certainly something that's been leveraged heavily, and I'll point that out. But it's also for us to empower ourselves in our career growth and also our personal development, particularly our personal interests, our mental health, our mindfulness, all of those types of things. So I think those are the 4 key pillars that this tool is being utilized for across most of the campuses that I work with. Of course, it's available to students too. If we've got faculty members in here, you are welcome to assign content as part of curricula or use it as support material, tutoring for students who are struggling. But for the purposes of this conversation, we'll really be focusing on how we can use it ourselves. So let's start with this adapting to unexpected changes, because we've all been living through that for quite some time now. So just by way of what other people are doing, I think you can see the usage line and how that changed at around this time last year. So we did see a huge bump in usage last year, and it continues to be higher as folks are in part working from home, or at least more remotely dealing with some of the stress that the pandemic continues to deliver to us. And I think a lot of the reason why this is happening is because it's real time, it's engaging. You can create groups within LinkedIn Learning. You can have study groups, ask questions. There's a little bit of social aspect, and we're all learning so much new technologies, Zoom calls, how to work from home, mental health. And so this is a tool and a resource that's here for you guys. When we
Nicole,
look,
I'm not sure you have a question. I'm not sure if you want to cover
yeah,
this now. It's actually a non-LinkedIn learning question, but the participant is asking that she has a LinkedIn profile for her small business. She's wondering, should I create a separate profile for my day job or build on what I already have?
so for your small business, you should have a company page. They work a little bit differently than a profile, and they're a little bit more findable, interactive. You can put products, have different types of pages. So for your small business, create a company page. If you type in LinkedIn help, you'll get to the help center really quickly and you can go and figure out how to do that. But definitely represent your business on a page. And then you, for your personal profile, should have one profile that lists your multitude of experiences. I too am a small business owner. I have one profile. I actually don't even think I list my small business because it doesn't need much advertising on my profile. But I have one profile that would list all my experiences, including my day job and the companies that I run on the side. I love that question. Keep them coming. We'll definitely keep it interactive. Hopefully that was helpful. As far as the LinkedIn Learning content that has been most popular as we adapt to change, it is a lot of, Zoom, Teams, how to have these digital calls, time management working from home, helping yourself, tech tips, effective listening. But I love that we're looking into building resilience and remote work. So these are the top 12 courses that have been utilized over the last 12 months. And I think that speaks to people really trying their best to adapt to change in an effective way. In terms of our response, we've also put together some learning paths. So for those who don't know, within LinkedIn Learning, there are courses you can take. Each course is broken up into small bite-sized videos and chapters. So you can complete just a couple of videos or chapters. But you can also complete the whole course and earn yourself that badge. There are also learning paths, which are tracks of courses. So if you really want to go in depth on a subject, explore the learning paths, and I'll show you how to get to those when we get to the demo. But there are 4 learning paths that we built in response to what's going on in the world. So check these out. I particularly like supporting your well-being during times of uncertainty. I think that one is really good for all of us, right? But, if you want to explore them, I would definitely look at these.
Nicole, this might be a good time for me to let people know that next week I'll be covering some more of the internal stuff with LinkedIn Learning, among some other tools that we have for career development. And we've also built some specific sort of career path collections and some competency collections. So make sure that you join us again next week. So we'll be covering some of this territory as it relates specifically, internal to UT as well.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. These ones on, well-being are really nice because they're put together by LinkedIn. But when you get learning paths put together by UT Austin for specifically you guys, those are the ones that I always recommend checking out just because they're much more accustomed to what you guys are doing internally. So thank you for providing that for everybody. So moving on, let's leave the world of the pandemic. In normal times, in this 2021, the year of recovery, how do we use the tool to empower ourselves? Well, I think there's a number of ways for onboarding. And if you have peers who are starting in the new job, if you are transitioning, if you are starting really anything new, we'll use this term onboarding in a broad scope here. This is a great tool to set yourself up for success. If you are a person who needs to deliver feedback in one way, a mentor, a people manager, using this as a way of performance reviews and giving the people that you are responsible for a way to foster their career, this is helpful. And then, of course, our own self-development, developing our own skills. So looking at onboarding, when we think about skill changes, it is well documented that about 1/3 of your skills change every 5 years. I think it was estimated that in 2020, it was like 56% of our core job skills changed. But in general, 1/3 of our skills changes every 5 years. So if you are not doing the necessary training, you are slowly becoming irrelevant. So let's not do that. Let's make sure we are all relevant and owning our own career. And just some examples here, especially in tech, the fastest growing software among developers today didn't even exist 3 years ago. So if you are in programming, you are well aware of this and up to date on, I'm sure, most of your technologies. For the rest of us, like myself, I'm not a programmer. I still need to make sure that I am up to date on everything that is happening in my industry, both my industries, higher ed and technology in my case, and take those relevant trainings. So there is a ton of content on LinkedIn Learning. Leadership and management, there's content for functional roles. There's content, obviously, your institution has curated for you guys specifically. There's tech and software, and then my personal favorite, professional, essentially soft skills for people. Communication, public speaking, decision-making, teamwork, collaboration. I love these ones. So, check out what you need. There's all kinds of personal interest ones. I'm taking a couple of like photography courses because I'm absolutely terrible at taking pictures of my kids, but slowly getting better with the courses. So check those out as well. If you are doing any sort of onboarding, either for yourself or you have a coworker who's starting or you're a people manager and you're trying to onboard folks, there's some great tools in there as well. You can use it pre-change, during a change, or post-change. So take those out. Content is easily shared on LinkedIn. And I can show you how to share the content as well. But these are great learning moments where people are sort of hungry for information. So providing them a way to utilize it can be extremely helpful. Imagine you're moving on to a team who uses a technology that you're unfamiliar with. It's really hard to like sit there and ask a million questions and feel like you're taking people's time. Whereas if somebody just sends a link saying, hey, we use this particular technology on this team. If you're unfamiliar with it, here's a course you can browse if you need it. And that's a really comfortable way to welcome people to the team and empower them to feel like they have the resources necessary. Again, if you're changing roles and nobody does that for you, you now have the tool to do it for yourself as well. I think there's also some really great sort of culture values. There's obviously a lot going on in the world. I love the diversity, inclusion, and belonging courses on LinkedIn. Learning from failure, making commitments, all of these kinds of courses can be really helpful. Also, some of the courses in and around our personal development, like taking charge of your development, pitching yourself, succeeding in a new job, all of these can be helpful as well. If you are in a position to manage folks and you want to start utilizing these in performance reviews, of course, there are tools we have to be able to help you. But one thing that I do, because I do mentor a group here at LinkedIn, is when I give feedback, I say, here are the things that you're doing really well. Here are your areas of improvement. And here are resources you can use to develop those areas of improvement. That last step empowers people to really own their own development. In my case, I don't necessarily follow up to see if they've taken them, but a lot of times they do, and they come back to me and explain what they've learned and what they're doing. And that can be really, really helpful. So however you decide to implement this in your management style, just know that the tools are there and you can easily share this content amongst each other.
Nicole?
Yeah.
Just a couple questions, some really nice comments about you in the chat, first of all. But first question is, are these courses appropriate to go on our CV? That's the first question.
That is a great question. So yes, when you earn a course, you get a digital badge. You can, if you have connected your personal LinkedIn profile to to your LinkedIn Learning account, one click and it automatically adds the course to your badge. Particularly for our students, we want them syncing their badges to their LinkedIn profiles because yes, it displays on your LinkedIn profile. It also makes you more findable because it brings in all the keywords, but it also brings in metadata tags on the back end to your profile. Metadata tags are really cool because this is how recruitment technology works. I was a recruiter for 10 years. I can tell you recruiters are lazy. I get to say that because I was one. Not actually lazy, but we rely on recruitment technology. We get 300 applications. We're not going to look at all 300. We're going to look at the top 30 or 50 that the technology sorted for us. So we want those metadata tags, those keywords to be on your resumes, to be on your LinkedIn profiles. So yes, this is absolutely a certification or a badge you can add to a CV and certainly to your LinkedIn profile if you earn them. Every single course within LinkedIn Learning earns the learner a badge or micro-credential if it is completed in full. And then I will get into the industry recognized certifications that we have here in a few minutes.
So I'll add to that, and then there's another question after that I think I'll need to answer. I should also add that here at UT, we are working on integrating LinkedIn Learning with our learning management system. It's a cornerstone product we call UT Learn here. In the meantime, what we're doing is we're sort of crosswalking a lot of the courses over to UT Learn, but in the future, those badges will carry over to our learning management system as well, so that if you're sort of establishing your career internally at UT, those badges will track as well. So we're working on that. Hopefully in the next few months, we'll have that done. Yeah, exactly. The second question is, do UT students have access to LinkedIn Learning? So the answer is yes. All students, staff, and faculty have access to LinkedIn Learning. And I will tell you that we really are trying to get word out on the student side. They're, of course, the most populous group on campus, but it's not used as widely as we would like. Staff use LinkedIn Learning pretty heavily, but students are not using it nearly as much as we would like to see. So although they have access, we really need to, kind of break into that territory and make sure that students know that they have this resource, as well as faculty, I should say, too, that it's a great resource for blended learning and supplemental learning. I'm taking over Nicole's whole show here, but I just wanted to, yes, everyone at UT, students, faculty, staff, have access to LinkedIn Learning.
'Tis true, yes. And every campus uses it so differently. Even if I just compare you guys and a school within the same system, like UT Dallas, their focus is mostly students and it's mostly content being assigned in curriculum, where you guys have really taken it and owned it from a staff development perspective. Both campuses, it's available, totally to everyone, but every campus grabs onto it a little bit differently. But yes, we definitely want this campus to get more student faculty usage. Just get the word out there. So if you can share, please do. But it is being used across the UT system really heavily in a variety of different ways. Was there another question that you were going to take?
Nope, that was both of them. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. I love the questions. And then it's less of just me hearing myself talk. So keep them going.
I will say that there was a comment in the chat that I'm writing something, and it might be easier for me to just say it. Sorry. The staff member is saying that she manages students and she's excited to put together a list of courses to help them. Please reach out to our office. Our learning architect, Francis De La Cruz, in particular, can really help you, create learning collections on learning paths that you don't have access to unless you have administrative privileges. And we can, help you create something that's really exciting and catered specifically to students. So make sure that you reach out to us when you're ready, Morgan.
Yeah. Actually a really good point. So anybody can share a course or a video or create a little collection and kind of share it. But if you want something that's searchable within LinkedIn Learning for all of the UT Austin instance, then reach out to the team here. Francis is a great resource to be able to make content that's actually findable, searchable, and repeatable within this particular instance. Was a good clarification. Okay, so looking at other ways, obviously, as I mentioned, if you get into a situation where you need performance improvement plans or IDPs, this is a great opportunity to be able to not just tell people they have gaps to fill, but actually provide resources. So looking at learning paths, I know I explained them a little bit, but I love these learning paths. I think they're so incredibly helpful. Again, when you have 17,000 courses, it is really hard to kind of pare it down and figure out what you want. These learning paths have been pulled out by our industry experts and said, okay, these are good courses for this particular goal. My favorite is Master in-Demand Professional Soft Skills. As we move through our careers, it is easier to gain the hard skills because we have to have them to do the job. We don't have to have soft skills, but the best employees do. We've all been on a team where somebody is very good technically, but difficult to work with. So how do we improve those skills? Because the people that are easier to work with are the ones that are always sought after. And this learning path pulls out the soft skills that we all need to be great at our jobs. So I love that one for everyone, faculty, staff, and especially students. So if you don't do anything else, check out Master in-Demand Professional Soft Skills, because this one is really, really good. But all of these, if you're an individual contributor looking to be a first-time manager and you want to learn about delegating tasks and leading meetings and all that stuff that individual contributors don't do, Become a Manager is really good. If you're a frontline manager and you want to be a senior manager, there's interim management learning paths. If you're a leader, an executive, all of those are in there as well.
There's another question here, Nicole, and I could speak on this topic for an hour, so I'm really interested to hear your take on it. Can you briefly cover the difference between soft and hard skills?
Yeah, that's a really good question. This is the third time this week I've had this question. This is interesting, and I hadn't had it before that. So a soft skill is a skill that is really hard to measure. These are the skills that we need to interact on our day-to-day basis, but they're not often skills that are going to be measurable by recruiters. So these are things like teamwork, being able to collaborate well, being able to take an idea and articulate it in a presentation, working with others, time management. Hard skills, in contrast, are going to be like Excel. So any sort of technology usage is a hard skill. How to use a Word document, how to code, how to enter, data into a document. Those are going to be hard skills. So the soft skills are going to be a little bit more fluffy, a little bit harder to define, and way more difficult to teach people. How do you teach someone how to take an idea and articulate it in a presentation? It's much more difficult than teaching someone a hard skill.
I love that answer.
Okay, good.
It's a great answer. I'll say that at learning development, we make this hard distinction between those things, but we talk about it in terms of training versus learning development or development in general. And hard skills or training is really focused on like how do you do your job right now, your hard skills, your current situation, whereas development is more future focused and typically, looks at soft skills that are widely transferable, and they take a much greater effort in terms of thinking about how to apply what you are learning to your job and your life. You have to really it's a higher level of learning that is required to really absorb that information versus the hard skill training. But both are important, but that developmental process is just a different kind of learning, different kind of instruction.
I'm glad I passed your test, Emil, of making sure that I did it. So I will say that as a recruiter, you look for the hard skills because those are easy to identify and test. I can ask a simple question in an interview process, get an answer, and I can sort of assess whether people have hard skills. So that's a minimum requirement in a lot of ways. However, it's the soft skills that make a great employee. And those are way harder to check for anyone, even if I'm hiring an internal employee to join my team here at LinkedIn, or if I'm hiring an external employee, I look for soft skills because they're harder to train. So if I find a great employee who maybe doesn't have all the hard skills, I know I can teach them that. I would rather have an employee with really great soft skills who are maybe lacking a few hard skills that I can teach them versus somebody who has all the hard skills and is rough around the edges on the soft skills. I would much rather go with the person who's easy to work with, communicates well, on time, reliable. Like those things are pretty key. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a big mistake that hiring units make is, making sure that somebody knows how to do an Excel pivot table or, knows their homegrown system versus somebody who, really has specific competencies that they're looking for. You can teach people how to use a pivot table relatively quickly, and those soft skills are harder to achieve.
Yep. We've got all kinds of courses on pivot tables too.
That too.
So yeah, hopefully that was gives everybody a good idea about hard skills and soft skills. I will say I do a fair amount of work with employers who hire entry-level students as well. And they are screaming at the top of their lungs, soft skills, soft skills. All these students are wonderful. They're coming out. They know how to do things. They also work well on teams and whatnot. But if we can develop soft skills, this is helpful. So this is one that we really push heavily for the students as well, how to succeed in a new job and mastering in-demand professional soft skills. Okay, so I know what you guys are thinking. This is all so exciting, but I do not have time for a learning path that has 18 courses in it. It's okay. If that's what you're thinking, we've got you covered too. So there are micro-learning courses in LinkedIn. So a micro-learning course is one course that is comprised of tons of tiny little courses on a particular topic. Personal effectiveness. I love happiness tips weekly. When I'm not feeling good, I watch one of those. But personal finance, Excel tips weekly, teacher tech tips weekly, any course that has the words tips or bites in it, you're going to get a micro course. And these are great, especially if we've got 10 minutes before a meeting, you can hop on, watch a 2 to 3 minute course on whatever you want, and then leave and do your job more effectively. So if you don't have time or you feel like you don't have time, go check out the Time Management Tips weekly course and take a couple of those 2 to 5 minute courses. They're always really helpful, fun. It's great if instead of that like weird downtime between meetings, you can use it to make yourself more effective or happy if you want, maybe better personal finance. So check out those weekly tips courses. I know
There's another question here, Nicole.
Yep.
How do you convey those soft skills on a CV? How do you convey that? You have very strong soft skills. How would you express that on a CV?
That is the question. That is the toughest question. So my easy answer is you take a LinkedIn Learning course, you earn a badge, you put it on your profile. That's the easiest way. It's going to pull in the keywords, the language, the metadata tags, and it's easy to convey that you have taken it upon yourself to develop those business soft skills. That's our shortcut. And it's one of the main reasons that we work with college campus career centers to help the students get those. As far as though, without LinkedIn Learning, it's really tough to put on a CV, I am a good communicator, like that is awkward. But there are ways you can do that. You can talk about past presentations. You can talk about how you've leveraged those soft skills. You can talk about teams that you've led. You can showcase these skills through your professional experience. So I think there's several ways to go about it. But yeah, there's no easy way. It's not like, I can program in R at this level and here's some sample projects. There's no way to really be able to do that. On a LinkedIn profile, if you've got a presentation that you've given that's on YouTube, that's, public facing, you can add those things like a, YouTube link and whatnot to your LinkedIn profile to give people examples of you using your soft skills. That's even another layer. So there's some ways to do it, but it's tough. It's tough to articulate your soft skills. And from a recruiter perspective, it's tough to assess a candidate's business soft skills. Hopefully that was adequate for you. Non-answer. It's a difficult one. Okay, so these badges and micro-credentials. So every time, if you have connected a personal LinkedIn profile, every time you complete a course, it will pop up and say, what do you want to do with this course? It's not going to automatically go to your profile. I mean, if you take a course that's like how to deal with a horrible boss, you might not want that one on your profile. So it's not going to automatically go there. You will earn the certificate and a pop-up will happen that says, what do you want to do with this? You can print it, you can share it, you can put it on LinkedIn, whatever you want, or you can do nothing with it. If you don't grab that pop-up or miss it somehow, you can easily go into your learning history, see your courses completed, and grab the badge in that way as well. But these are great ways to, again, add keywords to your resumes, to your profile, metadata tags to your profile, showcase that you have taken an interest in developing yourself. Highly recommend that some of the courses that you complete that you put on there. I probably am not going to put on some of the courses that I've completed, like, figure drawing might not go on my profile, or like meditation also might not go on my profile, but a lot of them do. And so, think about what ones you'd want to display that will be productive to your career. So let's get into personal development. So there are a lot of continuing ed courses and industry recognized certifications. So I want to make the distinction first and foremost between a LinkedIn badge and a micro-credential and an industry recognized certification. So a LinkedIn badge is super helpful, especially when it comes to showcasing that you have taken the next step in your career, that you are interested in self-development, bringing metadata tags onto your LinkedIn profile. However, we're not doing any sort of assessment here. We can't assess your skills. There are some tests and whatnot built in, but they're not, graded. They're not a part of your completion. So they're very helpful. But if you want to earn an industry recognized certification, you need to go to a third body testing unit. However, all of the test preparatory work, including practice exams in most cases, are available on LinkedIn Learning. So if you want to get certified in any of the Microsoft tools, Six Sigma, CompTIA, Adobe, basically any of these, you can take the certification test prep courses and the practice exams to prepare for this exam. So check those out. Very big distinction, but these are available to you guys as well. We've just added ones for human resources and I think CPAs. So those are exciting.
Question here, are the test prep courses and practice exams free?
Well, yes to you guys. UT Austin does pay for this service, so I'm not sure I can say it's free.
We say at no cost to the student, faculty, and staff.
Yes, we'll say that. So this is a tool that is being invested in by your institution for you to use. So there's no cost to you, but it is one of your benefits.
And then somebody's asking a question of me, I guess. Does UT Human Resources team make appointments with UT employees? I'm assuming that you mean learning and development here. Of course, anybody can speak to anyone at HR, but in terms of learning and development, the team that's hosting this series, absolutely. The link to our website is in that chat, and our contact information is there. So absolutely, highly encourage anybody to reach out to us anytime if you want to talk about learning and development.
Perfect.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yep. Okay, so we're getting into the fun stuff. So well-being. I don't know about you guys, but I am like a mom of 7-year-old twins, and I'm working from home. I normally travel back and forth from California to Texas 50% of the time. And now I'm like stuck in my house trying to homeschool kids and do my job, which is in, by the way, higher ed, which is incredibly difficult. It has been a wild year. So I have had to really, or my boss has basically forced me to really take care of my own mental well-being. If you are in the same boat as me, I highly encourage you to take some of these courses. I love the managing stress courses, the mindfulness courses. Being a woman in tech, I think overcoming imposter syndrome for me personally has been a meaningful course. So check out some of these courses that help us develop. There are a lot of skills that are hard to sort of admit that we want help in. And this is a really comfortable way to do a couple searches and take these courses to really improve ourselves, our skills, our abilities, sure, but our enjoyment of the job, our mindfulness. So check those out. I think they're really interesting. I think they can be really meaningful. They've been meaningful to me, particularly in these last 12 months. And our passion projects. I've already told you guys about my horrible photo taking skills. I'm working on it. But there's all kinds of stuff in here. TED Talks, inspirations, drawing, piano lessons are in here. So if you do have passion projects that you want to foster, explore LinkedIn Learning. There's some really neat things to be able to take. I know my husband and I have sat down and taken a couple of courses together, and we're very competitive. So we always test our skills. And so check these out. These are really helpful. So just a couple tips in using the platform, ideas that you can take if you so wish. So I think it's really interesting. You can actually download these courses offline. So if you're a person who commutes or you're in a space where you don't get great home internet, you can download the courses and watch them offline. That can be really helpful. You also have apps, iOS and Android, that you can download and watch phones on your app. I am notorious for doing dishes with my headphones in, so I can't hear my kids, and just sit there and do dishes and watch the course and like my headphones and get stuff done. Another successful tip is, built-in goals. You can actually set your learning goals within LinkedIn Learning. It will help you schedule time, set reminders, and then always share your success. If you complete a course, throw it up on LinkedIn. Like, hey, I completed this course. It was great. It will help you get better. It will help your peers understand that this is a tool for them. Very, very successful. This is always a hard one, particularly for my husband who loves TV. But if you can even replace 15 minutes of TV time with a self-development course over a couple of months, you will be amazed at the new skills you can acquire. So I would encourage you guys to check that out if you are looking at doing something like that. And then lunch and learn. This is also one that I'm good at doing. I'm terrible at stepping away from my laptop when I eat. So if I'm going to be eating, I'm not going to be typing. This is a nice way to just play even some of the micro courses to be able to do that. Lunch and learn schedules like we're doing right now. If you are a people leader, it's always great to pick a course and then sit around lunch and discuss the course. So we do this a lot here internally at LinkedIn. A lot of our diversity, inclusion, and belonging right now, these are the courses that we're watching. We watch them on our time, and then we sit around and discuss them over lunch as a team, over virtual lunch, but still. It's a really good activity to talk about the learnings and the support we can provide our greater company when we do things like this. And it can be on any topic. And then you can always, because we have the apps, you can always watch courses in the gym. There is an option for audio only, and there are a handful of courses that are audio only, although most of them are visual components as well. All right, so I am going to change gears here and just give you a quick rundown of LinkedIn Learning, some tips on how to use the actual platform. Keep those questions coming. I love them about LinkedIn or LinkedIn Learning.
So there is a question here, and I have a question after this one. Is Nicole going to spend some time in UT Learn? I'll answer that too, showing us how to do what she's suggesting. How do we set a goal? How do I find TED Talks? I just searched and only one came up. What about well-being? So first of all, UT Learn is our internal learning management system at UT. So I'm thinking maybe you meant LinkedIn Learning, which is what Nicole is just about to do right now, is go into the demo. But then the other parts, maybe Nicole, you can address how do we set a goal? How do we find TED Talks, etc. And what about well-being, which you covered pretty extensively, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as how to log in, this is the page. Scroll down, LinkedIn Learning, learn more. You can click on it right here. You're going to log in with your institution credentials. If you've done this before, you'll get right in. If this is your first time, you will be asked if you want to connect a personal LinkedIn profile. If you choose yes, it'll a second pop up and you'll have to dual authenticate. So you first authenticate with your UT Austin credentials. Your second authentication, if you choose to connect a profile, will be whatever email password you use for LinkedIn. You only have to do that once or anytime you clear cache or cookies. Again, it's highly recommended. If you do connect them, you'll get more features. But this is where you go. That's the process. Once you are in to this system, this is what it's going to look like. So first and foremost, you'll notice that the system is reading who I am, what I do on my LinkedIn profile, and it is recommending content for me. So still trying to, oh man, I logged out by accident. Let's see if I can go in this way.
Nicole, while you're doing that, I'll say a couple of things that I want to just comment on. The other thing that I think maybe you'll sort of touch on with the demo is the just-in-time learning aspect of LinkedIn Learning. We talked really briefly. We kind of mentioned pivot tables, and I think that's kind of a good example of where just-in-time LinkedIn Learning is great for just-in-time learning and micro learning, where you're working on something, you can't remember, you've done pivot table 10 times, and yet you still can't remember how to do it. You can go in and you don't have to watch, a half hour long course on Microsoft Excel skills. You could find that one component of, pivot tables, learn how to do it and get your job done. This is great for staff. It's also great for students who maybe they're taking a stats course and they haven't done stats or can't remember how to do a particular thing, and they can go in and just learn that little piece that they need so they can finish what they set out to do. It's a really powerful aspect of LinkedIn Learning. And I know people are using it like that already, but I think that more people sort of need to know about that aspect as well.
Yeah, thanks for articulating that. In fact, 75% of usage on any higher education institution is just-in-time learning. Learning does not have to equal course completion. I take tons of segments of courses. I complete the ones where I want to earn the badge and I want sort of a holistic understanding of the topic. But by all means, if you're struggling with something, you can take a component of the course and that can sometimes be just as good. I've had a few really intense meetings where I was so nervous for them, and I roll in and watch how to have a difficult conversation at 2x the speed, 15 minutes before the call, just grab a few talking points, don't complete it, and walk out and have a more effective meeting. So there's absolutely ways you can utilize this without completing the course as well. And if you're going to look at pivot tables, for example, if I do a search on Excel pivot tables, there are 600 topics. So yeah, you can search just by videos, which are just short segments. Maybe you only need the 2 minutes on how to do pivot tables. This is a super short video, or 4 minutes, 12 seconds. But if you want a complete course on how to do pivot tables, then you're looking at something more expansive. So here's, mastering them. Here's pivot tables for beginners, in depth, real world case studies in pivot tables. So you're going to be able to really kind of figure out what type of thing that you need here.
And there's another question here. I want to piggyback off that though first before I get to this question. It is like you can find obviously stuff on YouTube, but like the content on LinkedIn Learning is such a higher quality, and it really will get you the answers that you're looking for in a much more accessible and thorough way. So because I know there might be people thinking, oh, I just Google how to do pivot tables, but that's what this platform is for, because they have professionals who know how to really get to the heart of what people need to know and deliver that content in a really effective way. Okay, so here, I had to put that in there. The next question is, can you connect your profile to LinkedIn Learning later or only during the first time?
Oh, you can do it at any time. Yeah, that's a good point. If you decide not to connect your profile, there'll be plenty of prompts where you can go and do it. You can certainly do it in your settings. And alternatively, if you connect your personal profile and you, for whatever reason, decide you want to disconnect it, you can also do that. You just log a ticket and it'll get done within about 24 hours. I will say, if you decide to connect a profile, nothing from your personal profile is going to come into your LinkedIn Learning account and be visible by your employer. So I wouldn't worry about that. The only thing that they see is your name, which they have anyways, they're your employer. But yeah, either way, you can do it at any point. And then, yes, as far as, just Googling a topic versus using LinkedIn Learning. And you're right. The main thing is quality of content. The reason we hire faculty members with real world experience is because experience matters, right? So LinkedIn, we have the largest production studio outside of Hollywood. We only hire industry experts. We fly them in from all over the world, and we make really high quality, consistent content with, a lot of the times we'll have material, practice, download files that people can follow along with, or actually practice a technical skill insight. There's Q&A sections. There's ways to ask questions. You can create learning groups. So the quality of content here is vetted, so you're getting the right answer. Whereas if you YouTube it, you never know what kind of experience and who's going to be delivering it. Okay, so you can pop in and you can definitely see these courses that are being recommended to me. Again, 1/3 of our job skills change every 5 years. How do we know what we need to know? So LinkedIn is going to be reading the local workforce and starting to recommend content to various people. So if you're in tech, LinkedIn is going to read your local workforce, what type of technologies are trending right now, and be able to recommend that content to you. So pay attention to these recommendations. The more you use LinkedIn, the more complete your LinkedIn profile is, the better the recommendations are going to be. I just showed you here, you can search for content. Content is also being pushed to you from your organization. You can pop in and see that. You can see, here's my figure drawing and photography courses. Told you I was taking those. We had a question about how to set a goal. You can set them right here. It will go ahead and email you and recommend and ping you and say, hey, goal, here we go. So you can go and take any of those courses. In the settings is under the Me tab. This is where you can connect a LinkedIn profile if you want. You can go into your learning history. You can see some of the courses that I have completed in here. If I want to share them, I can add them to my profile. This is already on my profile, but you can download the certificate, share it in this sense. So there's lots you can do from that perspective as well. If you are going to search, you also have these really cool search parameters here. So again, looking at, mindfulness, time management, that type of stuff, you literally just search it in here. And then you can narrow down. Maybe I'm looking for a course. Maybe I'm looking for a video or a learning path. We'll start with mindfulness for beginners.
This is an audio.
So you'll note that, again, all of these courses are broken up into small bite-sized chunks. Maybe you don't need to take the whole course. Maybe you just need to take a video here, video there, just a chapter. That's fine. The intro video should always be an overview of what the course is going to be. So if you're unsure if this is the right course for you, just watch that intro video, or you can scroll down to the learning objectives and see if this is going to work for you. You can see learning groups, certificates. If they're earnable, there's a Q&A section for anyone who's connected their profile. Accessibility is really important to us. If you want closed captioning or searchable transcripts, tab navigation, all of that is in there. I tend to watch all the courses at 1.25 speed unless it's technical, then I like slow it down, but you can control that. If you want to share this with a team member, it's this little arrow in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to repeat this because no one remembers. If you want to share this, it's this little arrow. You click this right here. You can drop it into Teams. You can grab the link. This is the link that is specific to the UT Austin account. Do not share it outside of that. No one will be able to log into it, but it will direct folks back to this account. So you can share it within your internal teams. So I guess I should show you guys a learning path as well. So let's see. This is also the library. So if you want to browse various topics, this is a really good way to do it as well. So I'm going to pop in here. And this is, what you can see in terms of that. So let's see. This is an example of a learning path. We'll talk about this one that I love, Master in Demand Professional Soft Skills. So, and here they are: emotional intelligence, resilience, embracing change, critical thinking, trust, teamwork, communication, effective listening, persuasion, writing skills, and creativity. That's like a perfect example of types of soft skills. So this is what a learning path looks like, again, intended to be taken in order. And if you do complete a learning path, you will earn badges at every course, but you earn an extra special certificate for completing the learning path. All right, so I'm going to pause there. We'll stop sharing. You guys have done a great job about being engaging, but wanted to just open it up for questions and see if we've got any more on here.
There's a question about LinkedIn. Is there a training about how to actually set up or use and maximize your LinkedIn profile? Maybe she means, is there training in LinkedIn Learning about how to maximize your LinkedIn profile?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of trainings in LinkedIn Learning on how to use LinkedIn, networking, how to set up a profile, LinkedIn Learning for students. All of those are in there. But if you are thinking about setting up a LinkedIn profile, walk through it. It will help you set it up. But the top 5 things you guys need are a picture. You get almost 10 times the visibility with a picture, approachable, professional, just you, no wedding shots, clean background. You need a tagline. So, I think mine is learning evangelist. I don't necessarily put my job title there, but what you want as a tagline. Experience. When you type in your experience and education, don't just type in the name of the company, type it in. There'll be a drop down, pick the correct logo that actually ties you to the company and allows you to use those types of things. And in your experience, make sure you fill it out with your keywords. You don't just want to list what the experience is, actually bullet point any achievements that you've had, articulating some of those soft skills. Make sure you just think about what, top 5 things you want to be known for in your professional life. Embed those into developing your LinkedIn profile.
I'll come on here live, so people can see instead of having my disembodied voice. So let me just say, this is so great. I'm not sure if you mentioned this, maybe when I was trying to answer another question, but the languages aspect that, all these courses, you can listen to them in so many different languages. Maybe you have that number on top of your head, but in terms of accessibility, it's such a great option. And that's really important to us at UT as well. So, people who are not native English speakers can also use this platform, and that's really important as well.
Yeah. In fact, if your LinkedIn profile is set up in a different language, automatically your LinkedIn Learning account will default to that particular language. Although anybody can toggle and, watch courses in different languages.
So let's see, a couple of questions here. That path is intended to be taken in order, but can you start anywhere? Does one course open to the next? I think this is a good, maybe you can make a distinction between a learning path versus a collection when you answer that question too.
Yeah, absolutely. So the path is intended to be taken in order, although it does let you skip around if you want. If something is being assigned to you, if your manager or your team is assigning a learning path, it is intended to be completed and taken in order. For the learning paths that you just find on your own, yes, of course, you can take it in whatever order that you see fit. But I highly recommend that if something is being assigned to you, that you follow the path logistically that is laying out for you, because that will be tracked by them. If a collection is being assigned to you, that is not necessarily intended to be taken in order, and it will clearly, you can see that from the collection piece. A collection is just a suggestion of courses that are being recommended to you that you don't necessarily need to take in order.
And then another question, if you're interested in a particular topic or a learning path category, is there a way to be notified of new courses around a topic?
Great question. Yeah. So our learning blog, you can sign up to, you can just Google LinkedIn Learning blog and you can pop in there, and yeah, absolutely. All the new courses every week are posted. I think you can sign up whether you want it monthly or weekly, but it will outline all of the brand new courses. I am also happy to provide the content roadmap 6 months in advance to the leadership at UT Austin at any point. So they have,
that's great.
Can have access to that as well.
That's great.
See, I learn something new every day.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that. So we're about a minute over. I just want to thank everybody who participated. I know people are jumping off to get into other meetings. People are thanking you in the comments, saying what an amazing job you did. And I agree, this is fantastic. Nicole, thank you so much. This is a huge focus for UT. And of course, that's our only focus at UT Learning Development, is continuous learning. For anybody, any kind of working professional at UT, we want to make sure that you are always learning. And that sort of self-directed learning, exploratory learning, curiosity is fundamental to what we do. So we're super happy and excited to have Nicole come and tell you a little bit more about LinkedIn Learning and how important it is for our mission. And I said it before, but we really need more students involved. We really need more faculty involved. So spread the word, be evangelists like Nicole, and let them know how great LinkedIn Learning is for the UT community.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nicole. You too. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.